Stop trying to cover 100% of your code with unit tests. 4 years ago, I was interviewing a developer. He had some years of experience, so I asked him, "Do you write tests? And if so, why do you write them?" And he told me, "I write tests to ensure there is no issues in my code." And this is true and actually wrong. This was not the expected answer. I spent 10 years building apps for major companies and startups. I've bundled all the essential code into a Flutter template to ship your app in just 3 weeks. But let's get back to unit tests. Unit tests are made to ensure your code is working as expected. So you will find issues along the way. It's true. Most of us have been taught to write code, but schools never teach us how to write software. And this is the point here. Here are the 3 rules I follow to save a lot of time writing efficient unit tests. First, tests should not reflect implementation. This means that if every time you change details inside your implementation, you have to update your tests, this is not good, right? Like in this test, we're checking that this is in loading state by checking a property inside the state. Maybe, I don't know, you change this property name tomorrow, or it's not a boolean anymore and it's a state coming from an enum, or it's not even using this property. So it could be a really bad test. Imagine the developer forgot to use it. It's passing this to true, but not using it. So this is a bad test. Also, something I really don't like about mocking is every time you write a test, you have to understand how the API works and say, okay, I will answer with this because I know how the API works. But should I really understand how the API works every time I write a test? So after that, yes, we tap on text and we say, okay, we have signed it in. For me, this is the sign of a bad test. And we will see how to improve it. What I mean by writing a test that will resist to implementation. So if we can test from the point of view of the user, it's even better because it will resist from details of implementation. Here on the sign-in page, for example, I could just test the sign-in function, but if tomorrow we use another function, I won't detect it. So the better would be to take the point of view of the user, because also Flutter let us do it. So why not doing it? Enter you into the email field. As you see, we enter an email, we enter a password, and we say, okay, now we will see the circular progress indicator instead of checking the isLoading property. So we know maybe it's using this property, but I don't care. What I want is to know it's in a loading state. And after that, when the loading state is has finished, I say, okay, it's now on a login success. And instead of searching a text, because you may change this text, and actually I don't care of what is actually written here. The marketing can change this test every day, and I don't want to refactor my test for this. So never check directly for text. That's my point. So you have this login success, and you say, okay, so now my login is working. And as a bonus, as you see, I personally don't like this mocking mocktail or every other mocking packages, because I don't want to understand how the API is working, what are the property, what is sending, what is returning. I don't care. That's why I usually write what is called fakes. Fakes has this first advantage. I can pass a fake for faking all the API call inside my app. But the idea is this. I say, okay, it's just returning on the sign in, it's returning, let's say, a token. Imagine you have to get on all your code. If you have, let's say, a page that has 10 API call, every time you change something, you have to come and see all the API calls for every page and understand how it works in the right order and pass things and returns. So when you have an application with, let's say, 200 tests, you have to refactor all these every time you change something. This is crazy, and this is what I don't want. The second point is tests only what you own. And what does it mean, really? It means that, for example, you have this revenue card subscription, and you say you will get it from a repository that, let's say, we have a revenue card repository, and we say, okay, this repository, we make a purchase, and it returns us this subscription. And after that, I will just do expect this subscription to be renewal, let's say, to be true. So there is two things here. I am testing the revenue card package again, which is completely useless. And every time it will change, I will just have big problems here, which are useless. You're losing time. So if you want to be really effective, you have two choices. In your app, use your own object. You maybe have your own, create your own subscription, and you say that when you get something from revenue card, if the user purchase, this subscription will be active or inactive, and this is it. Just use your own object. You don't have to test what you didn't make. Test what you own. The third point now is, if you can, try to write your test before even implementing anything. This means that, for example, test error sending bad email to the server. What I like to do when I write a test is write what is the actual context and says, okay, what I should expect. So I use this arrow to say, this is the current context, and this is what I will expect. Should show an error message, let's say. And I start writing my test. So what am I waiting for? It forced me to test just one thing per test, not checking everything is working. This test is crazy. Test every case, is duplicate your test. I don't care, but test one thing. And this is how I am just like thinking how my function will work. If I'm able to do this, I will be able to test every case and say, this will be my documentation. This will create the documentation of my code, and I will improve it every time. You could even extract these test names and say, this is how my application is working. You will make better and better application doing this. So this is why I like to write my test just before doing everything. And as a bonus, let's say unit testing is great, but always testing the same property again and again is not all the time the best way. You could say, I want to test on a list of many, many, many emails. As you may know, there is so many ways of writing an email. It could be long, containing weird characters, and say, I want this to work, I don't want this to work. And this is how you can just find and make your code even better. So you could make a list of email and password and just test every relaunch your test for all properties. But the Flutter and Dart team has think about something that is really, really useful for this. It's using this M variable, which is basically a set of possible email and password. As you see, it's currently running on this value. So I'm testing this email and this password. And basically, it's so simple. I have made a little class with just an email and a password. This class will be now inside what I call a value variant, which is basically a list. And for each variant, we will run our test. So I'm giving this. It's already there in Flutter. It's not something I have invented. So you have password and email, and you would say, I want to run my test for this email, for this password. So you don't have to make a test for each possible variant you want to try. You can just pass it to your test and run your test. Your test will run on every possible variant. It's easy to use and really improve your test. So since AI is so better now, a great thing you can do is ask AI, provide me a list of email and password that should work using this password policy. It will just bring you many, many, many email and password. And the same way, you want to try some password that should not pass your test and tell, okay, this password should throw an error. And you can ask the AI to just provide you a list of passwords that should not pass the test. This is pretty easy, and this can improve your code base really, really amazingly. Testing is not a waste of time. It can save you time, but you need to have a strategy to do it. I hope that this video will help you improve your test. And remember, testing is the key to make a great, great software.